Hi, I'm Corey. You're here at the Learning House, and joining me is Lori Beesting of Bridge the Gap Math. Lori, thanks for joining me today. I'm really looking forward to hearing about how your resource can be used by families and a little bit more about it. Welcome.
Absolutely. I hope I can fill in some of the gaps. So this Bridge the Gap Math program is very close to my heart because it came as a result of my teaching. I was working specifically with children who were just coming to the end of elementary school and thinking about the next journey into high school, who found themselves feeling that some of the core essential math concepts from grades 4, 5, 6, and 7 were just not quite in a good place to feel confident about the next journey ahead. However, there are many grade 8 students and grade 9 and grade 10 and many older teens as well that can benefit from it, because a lot of older students don't want to have to backtrack and go through earlier grade 4 math books, grade 5 math books, because that would be embarrassing. And I wanted to find a way of helping those students who need to backtrack to be able to keep their dignity. So it is being used in homeschooling situations and also in schools for grades 6, 7, and 8. And as I said, a lot of older children as well. So the book is actually very different. It's not a single coverage of one grade. It also isn't just a single coverage of one concept or group of concepts, for example, a book all about fractions. It's my choosing, selecting concepts that I found as a teacher, children in that situation at that transitional stage of their math journey were tending to struggle with. And I picked out, which, can you believe, it turned out to be 100, and I didn't intend that. I only realized that there were exactly 100 lessons right at the end. So it's very different. It contains just and only the often missing but really need to know bits from grades 4, 5, 6, and 7. And it is not a complete coverage for grade 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, which begs the question then from many parents, well, how do I use it? Because if a child is in grade 5 and they are feeling that they're just at that point where they're not feeling very good and happy about what's going on in their math, it could be used for a child as young as just in grade 5. However, for a child who's already at the beginning of grade 8, it can also be used to backtrack. So there's different ways of looking and using Bridge the Gap Math. Sometimes I'm asked the big question, well, how do I use it? Do I use it as a supplementary resource, or do I use it as a standalone resource? Well, I always try to get the parent to explain to me what it is that they're trying to do. If the child is in grade 8 and crying every night with homework, really struggling, losing confidence, writing themselves off, I can't do math, I'm hopeless at math, I can't go ahead with it, I'm not doing this homework, and things just go from bad to worse, and a slippery slope of dropping self-confidence starts to happen. In that situation, I would recommend that you put down the grade 8, grade 9 curriculum that you've been struggling with and causing nightmares, and do this as a standalone 6-month project. Because that time invested in doing this on its own, without having all the other pressures that are giving the child a stressful feeling towards the math that they're being asked to do or supposed to be doing at my grade, it's not relevant. It's about starting where the child is at. So yes, put down all the other curriculum and use this as standalone. However, if the child is only in grade 5 or even grade 6, and they're starting to feel that they want to firm up the basics, use it as a supplement, which means that I'm doing fractions in grade 8 that are asking me to do this, and I don't get it. Go into just the fractions department of the book, and that will help supplement the confidence. So it's almost like the actual grade curriculum and the Bridge the Gap Math curriculum are working together as a team. So hopefully that's explained about, is it do I use it on its own, or do I use it together with what I'm supposed to be doing? It's a matter of finding the way that works. And I would recommend very strongly talking with the student about how they feel about that. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good.
So the idea behind the book is that it's only got 1 page per concept, because a child who, for example, is in grade 7 or 8 doesn't want to have to go back and do 28 pages from the concept that they've been doing, like perhaps they used to do when you were doing like fractions. You used to work through for many days and weeks. This is about taking one concept and having 1 page to try and build up very small building blocks. So the 1 page a day, or not 1 page a day, because sometimes depending on parent and child's needs, it might be that you do several pages a day, but each lesson feels completed, just taking it 1 step at a time. So 1 page per concept. It has a parent script so that parents don't have to think, oh, how am I going to deliver this lesson? I've put my words in there. It's a teacher in a book. And also the grade from which the concept is taken is never revealed. So if the child who's in grade 8 is having to do a subject that is actually from grade 4, they don't know that, because my philosophy is that if they don't know it, it doesn't matter whether you're in grade 4 or grade 7. You just want a way to get it nailed and move on.
And I do appreciate, Lori, too, that you are talking in grades. Sometimes homeschoolers, we don't always talk in grades. We talk in forms or age.
Good.
But talking about student outcomes here, and that's something that many times our families want to have, that is harder to find. So just as an interjection, that you've got grade-based learning, and that it is with regards to Canadian learning outcomes.
Yes, it is. Yes. If I'm asked personally by a parent who calls me and says, can you just give me some advice on how to do this? I always say, well, forget about the grades. Go with what the child needs. Yes. And that's very
we
much.
We just want to see incremental growth. Yeah. We want to see our kids moving forward. And if they need to sit still on a concept for a while, that's okay, as long as we see that incremental growth. That's why we're homeschooling, is so that we can follow the ebbs and flows of their needs.
That's
wonderful.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I would just on a similar note as well, there's a little exclamation mark in the corner of some of the pages, which means high concentration alert. That means that if the child is tired or hungry, don't do that page.
Oh, okay.
The ones without it are the more gentle ones. But when
here's one right here. I found it.
Yeah, if you find that, that's the high concentration alert, which means that, if they've just done 2 hours of science and they're wanting to have a pizza, don't do that page.
That's great. That is a really good feature. I did not know that. I really appreciate you pointing that out.
Yeah, and also turn to page 68, Corey.
Sure.
This is there are 4 units, as I said, number, fractions, decimals, percentages, shape and geometry, and times tables. Now, this is the I know checklist just for unit 2, which happens to be the fractions, decimals, and percentages. And I would very much encourage the student to take ownership of those pages, because what tends to happen is that the student takes this book with them and has a record keeping in there that's personal, so that when they're doing homework 2 years later and they say, oh, I've got to multiply fractions, I don't know how to do that, they can look in their personalized I know checklist, and they can see that they've actually checked the box that says, I know how to multiply fractions.
Right, and it says here, there's a spot here, it's not very clear on my camera, but tick and date visited. So there, where we can put a date that we've completed this.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
great.
It. And it's all about internalizing and taking ownership of learning. So I mean, while you're there, Corey, please flick to any page and you'll see that all the lesson pages always follow the same 4-step format. If you look at the grey box at the top, that's the learning objective. The child is encouraged to say that out loud. The next part, which is the dotted line, is the learning part, the teaching part. The teacher script is there for the parent to read. And then at the bottom, there are 8 try questions. And the idea is that the student and the parent do those together using the teaching part above as hold your hand reference. So you're always allowed to look up. When you're feeling ready and confident, yes, I think I'm there with this, I think I understand this, you then turn over and give a big drum roll and you do the test page. Now, you will notice that there are answers on the page. Now, that might seem a little crazy. I wanted to do that because you hide those answers with a hiding card. Here's my very high-tech hiding card. And you cover the answers and you reveal them as you go. And that gives the child instant answers as to whether they've got it right or wrong. And if they've got it wrong, it's not a big deal. You just go back and redo the page. Yeah. With the younger children, I get them to actually design their own hiding card. Which, again, it's personal. Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, flick to a few more pages and you'll see that all the pages follow that 4-step format. Learning objective, teaching part, 8 to try, turn over, 8 to test. Very, very short and snappy and never more than 8 questions at a time so it doesn't feel overwhelming.
So how long do I expect my student to be working on this then?
You mean the whole book?
What would be an average lesson time?
The lesson time, probably 20 minutes to 40 minutes. If it's a big, heavy-duty one with the exclamation mark in the corner, if you're doing simplifying fractions, like for example, that one there. If you're going to do that one, I would give that one an hour.
Okay. So we have time to just mull, to digest. Yeah. And if my student is having a hard time concentrating that long, can I set it aside for a bit? Can we do part of this and then come back to it? Or
yes, now that's
what way to do for a student who can't concentrate that long.
That's all right. If I can just show you one part of the book at the beginning. If I hold the book up, you'll see that there is a great big chatty bit at the beginning, which is the introduction. And the title for that on page 11 is Guidance for Use and Getting Started. And it talks about that. If you turn over again, it talks about how to use the pages. Am I allowed to change? Go to page 14 and it says the 4 units can be done in any order. Within a unit, do follow the order of pages, but a student could, for example, do some work from the number unit and then move on to shape and geometry, because it means that if you wanted to do 15 minutes heavy stuff, number crunching, headache giving maths, some people call it, you can then say, oh, I'm ready to do something lighter. So you then might turn to page 157. And you might have some fun making hexagons or septagons or hexagons into crazy creatures. So the idea behind that is that if the child is losing concentration and they don't want to just stop, you can then flip to a page that's one of the more fun shape and geometry pages. Or in unit 4, you could make a times table stick on 203.
Right.
And you can get a stick and some tape and make a times table. There's lots and lots of recommendations in that introduction about how real families can use it to make sure that this ends up being a pleasurable experience, not tying down to heavy duty math kind of feeling. That's definitely not what it's about. But if you're in the mood for a little bit of heavy duty math, then take the opportunity.
Very good. Very good. I do love that. The idea of making sure that our kids get some hands-on and can understand the why. How is this useful for me? so that we can enjoy it.
Yeah, it's as much fun in there as is possible, and there's some things in there that are very silly, like when I'm teaching square numbers, I always get the student to say them in a louder voice or a silly voice. It's about appealing to the child's learning style, really. One of the things that I want to say about is, who is it for? So we've talked about the grades. It can be used by mainstream students. I use that term loosely as well, just because I'm a teacher and talking about special education as opposed to mainstream. Special education is running with it, because there are lots of learning differences like dyslexia, dyscalculia, math anxiety, students who just want to find a slightly different route through, really. So also teenagers, I have some lovely stories about families who've bought it for the younger children, and the teenager steals it and takes it off to their bedroom because they can secretly catch up without anybody knowing. Teaching assistants find it very helpful, and adult learning, and also second language, and also for peripatetic families like the military families. Some have purchased it because they travel around. So yeah. What else do I? Please go on the website and look at the sample pages. That will give more of a feel for how each page looks. And also, please go on the website and read the testimonials, because all of them have come from real families and have been sent to me voluntarily. And the only other thing I will flash at you very briefly is the diagnostic tool. The diagnostic tool can be used, to find out whether you think the book is necessary. So if you don't want to purchase the book, you can just buy this and find out which will save you purchasing the book. If you already feel that the book is necessary, the diagnostic tool can also be used to help you hone in on the specific skills that are most in need. So that's there as an option if you want, and that would be available digitally. So
And the diagnostic tool is not necessary, but an aid to using your resource, that parents can make that choice whether it's going to be something helpful to them. And it is an additional small purchase to the book that we will be providing digitally through the Learning House website as well. And we're working on making sure that that's readily available for our families as well.
Wonderful. And if people are needing to speak to me about their particular scenario, I am often able to chat on the phone. But there's tons of information on the website.
Phenomenal. We can really see your heart in this, Laurie. I love
it. I woke up one morning after teaching this content for years and years and years, and I said to my husband, I'm going to put this in a book. And I was so excited about doing it. All the words in there come from my mouth when I'm teaching the children. It's as much as it can be me teaching the children.
And it's so wonderful to see kids who have struggled or who have missed things. And I've worked too with kids who have come and are learning English as their second language, and they've missed these math skills because they've focused so hard on some other skills like learning English. To see those students come and see successes, and to see that they're smart, and to see that they're able, when something is presented to them in a way that meets their needs. I like this. It's a very encouraging for an older student who is just needing to do that catch up. They're not unable, they just haven't got the skills. So
absolutely. It's not about being unable. The inspiration for writing it was a boy called Frank, who when I was, I didn't know I was putting the program together. It just was my teaching daily. And he came to my house the first time, and he looked like this. He didn't fall off his chair like I nearly did. He just looked like this. And he just said, I'm in grade 6. I'm got grade 7 coming up. You don't even need to bother with me. I won't do it. I can't do math. And his confidence and his body language and everything. And after 4 or 5 months, he was leaving the house saying, do you know, I can do this. And that's been my inspiration. I call it the Frank effect. Sorry, that's a little bit
wonderful.
it was a moment for me when I just saw somebody who could walk and say, look, I'm not a failure. And that was quite emotional.
That's very neat. That's very worthwhile. That's so worthwhile. I really appreciate that, Lori. Thank you. Hard to follow up that, but I do have one question. Do I have a couple more questions? Let me see. One question that I have is, who is Bridge the Gap not for? What students need to bypass this that don't need this program, or it's not the right program for them?
Okay, so I sometimes am asked by parents if a younger child can use it, like for grade 3 or grade 4, or how the grades are standardized. I think that sometimes to push them on too fast can be a bit scary, because the book doesn't tell you which grade it's from. However, I do provide a personalized email for the younger children if they want to dip into some of the easier level concepts. And I send it personally to the parent saying, these are the pages that somebody as young as age 9 can do if you want. So that's not really answering your question. I think for the child who doesn't need it is the child who is just having a few issues with, for example, I don't know how to do multiplying fractions, but everything else in the curriculum in the grade book that I'm working on with my mum is doing well. To actually buy it just because 1 or 2 things are not in place, it's probably not needed. You could then look on the internet and just go on the Khan Academy.
And we just tie a child down if they're just needed. So it's not so much a resource book for I'll just pick off 1 or 2 lessons here and there as needed, but more the systematic approach that when a student needs that systematic help.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, if they're coping fairly well with the grade that they're in, it can be used to top up, but it's more for the student who is feeling that some of the earlier skills are missing. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I know that we've tried to connect with you for a long time, and we're glad that this is finally available here at the Learning House, that we've had families asking for this already, even though we've only had it here in the store a short time. And we're really glad to be able to see this resource that meets that need for those kids that are able, but maybe missing some key concepts that can lay down a strong foundations for those upper level maths, which are still very much needed, even for a kid who isn't so math minded. So thanks for making this tool for us, Lori. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to see it there behind you. It's making me feel very excited and proud. So I'm hoping it's going to become more well known, because it's somebody once told me when I had the idea to write the book that writing it is the hard bit for sure, but not until you actually try and share it with people. So I'm very grateful to be able to see it behind you now.
Very good. Yeah, well, there is something to be said for we run into some amazing, phenomenal resources that unless people know about them, they'll never know about them. So we need to make sure that they hear about these kinds of resources. So thanks for chatting with me today, Lori. I really appreciate your time. We will have links to your resources, both the book and the diagnostic test, available on learninghouse.ca.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you.